Hey, it's Jeff, and I'm here with John Lee Dumas, who is the creator of the Entrepreneurs on Fire podcast, which is, I don't know, certainly one of the top entrepreneurial podcasts.
I'll take it.
This is one of the most influential, one of the most widely listened to, and one of the few with 2,000 episodes. I mean, that's crazy.
And that was your first. I popped your cherry.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm not positive. Memory gets a little hazy, but I think it was the first, might have been the first podcast.
I'll take it.
It was in the first 5 podcasts. Anyways, you've got a huge amount of experience with podcasting, 2,000 episodes. Should people, is it too late? Has that ship sailed? Should people still create podcasts?
Well, not to be coy, but I will say podcasting is still literally on fire. I mean, it's a great medium right now. It's never going to be the thing, but the thing about podcasting is it will always be a part of people's lives who like listening to audio content when they're working out, when they're driving to work, when they're walking the dog. It's always going to fit that special time frame. So podcasting, for anybody who is currently creating content, whether that's video, blogging, written, whatever it might be, if you're creating content, you need to at least consider the opportunity of starting a podcast because you're creating great content. Why not repurpose that content? If you're shooting a Facebook Live video for 7 minutes, why not take that audio out of it, create an MP3, put it onto the podcasting platform? Worst case that's going to happen is a lot of people are going to listen to it and hear about you that might not have otherwise. So if you're creating great content, you have to at least consider launching a podcast for that reason because you already have the content there.
Okay, so that begs the question, if they should consider it, how do they make the decision? Who should be, how do you think about this?
Okay, so I like to kind of think about the big three when it comes to podcasting. Number one is topic. Like, what is the topic that you're comfortable talking about? So again, if you're already creating content, you probably have that, but what are you curious about in life? What are you passionate about? Then also, like, what value and skill sets do you have? How can you mold that together? I call that the zone of fire right there, where you're both excited and have skills and value you can add in that area. Then you've got to niche the heck down. I mean, it's not 2012, like when I launched my podcast, when I was one of the only ones, and I could go, Jeff Walker, could you be on my podcast? He'd be like, okay, because I've done like a couple of these, whereas now he probably gets 100 or so requests per month because everybody's doing this. So what are you going to do to niche down? That's the second step. How are you going to niche down into a topic within what you're excited about, but that nobody's dominating yet? So you can just keep going down. So not just figure skating, but female figure skating in Southwest Canada that do triple sow cows. Like, that could be a podcast right there. Like, that could be it. And then guess what? You get some momentum, and then you can broaden out and do some more things, and then maybe become the international podcasting from figure skating in the world. But you got to start niche. And the third thing is avatar. You have to know your perfect listener. It's that one person who is incredibly meant to listen to your words on your podcast. My avatar's name is Jimmy. He's 38 years old. He has a wife and 2 kids, ages 3 and 5. I could literally go on about Jimmy for 45 minutes. I won't because of the length of this little clip here. But I'm telling you, I know everything about Jimmy, my perfect listener, so that when I decide to make a decision in my business, left, right, I'm at a fork in the road, I go, what would Jimmy do? What would Jimmy want? And that answers it, and I'm off to the races.
Cool. So right before we started, I asked you, just so I could get things right, is it Entrepreneurs on Fire or entrepreneur, singular or plural?
Yeah.
And you told me about the little transition there. Can you talk about a little bit about that? And because that's like the real in-depth. I mean, like, okay,
Totally.
what's going on in these guys' minds?
So 2012, nobody had heard of John Lee Dumas. Nobody knew who JLD was. Understandably, I was Army for 8 years. Like, that was my thing, corporate backgrounds. So I had no experience in the entrepreneurial world. So I needed, like, my brand to speak for itself. So all I was when I launched was Entrepreneur on Fire. I wanted people to realize that if you are an entrepreneur on fire, this podcast is for you. I will be interviewing entrepreneurs on fire, but that was the brand, Entrepreneur on Fire. Fast forward now 6 years, 2,000 episodes, I've become the personality within the podcast, within my brand. So I've started to do a slow transition where my brand was the fullback driving forward. Now I'm making that transition to where now me, JLD, John Lee Dumas, who people know, like, and trust because of the communities that I've created, the books that I've written, and just the content that I've provided. Now I'm making that transition to where I'm going to be the forefront of the brand. So now my new logo, my new name for the podcast is technically JLD Interviews. So that's me, JLD Interviews, Entrepreneurs on Fire. So I kind of go by Entrepreneurs on Fire because that's like the quick thing, and it's very similar to what I used to have, so people recognize it right away. But I want people to visually know that, hey, this is JLD, this is John Lee Dumas. He's interviewing Entrepreneurs on Fire. So that's kind of been my 6-year brand transition to put me out in the front.
That's nice. And now you've built an entire, it's interesting because you said podcasting is never going to be the thing.
Never.
but it sort of was the thing,
For me.
the big lever for you.
Absolutely.
It's been absolutely, you know, I've got a podcast.
I do. I heard it's one season.
One season.
Season 2 is coming, so stay tuned. Don't unsubscribe.
I'm getting these comments. It's like, Jeff, we're waiting for season 2.
It's coming. Stay subscribed.
It's soon.
That's the beauty thing about podcasting. Once people subscribe, they literally have no reason to unsubscribe because a lot of people probably even forget that they were subscribed to your podcast. But as soon as he comes out with season 2, episode 1, they're going to get notifications all around the world of, ding, new episode, Jeff Walker Show, like boom, off to the races. What's the name of the podcast?
It's called The Launch Life.
The Launch Life with Jeff Walker? You gotta get that on that 1400 by 1400 logo. It's gonna be with Jeff Walker.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
This name, come on.
Ladies and gentlemen, John Lee Dumas. Scroll down, leave a comment for John, and let's go get him this week.